Yo, what's good, everybody? Keith from Almost in Full Color. Today we're doing our review for East 10 Nordics on the PS5. Now, I know a lot of you may have heard that 10 word and thought, I can't really be playing 10. You actually can. The East series serve as journal entries into the adventures of Adol and Dogi. So, effectively, each game is an adventure that they went on. They're not necessarily connected to one another. However, they are connected by they all happen within the world that exists here. There is a chronological order to that. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but East 10 actually happens very early in the chronology. So you can actually jump right into 10. And although you don't need to play the others would be good, I would say, for terminology, for knowing about the world surrounding everything and kind of understanding why some things may happen the way that they do, because some things may seem odd and off. But once you play the other titles and you start to learn about the other empires and the other nations, you may begin to understand the kind of why certain things don't happen or do happen. But guys, this game is a great JRPG to add into your collection. We've had a phenomenal legendary year with JRPG drops this year, and it's been fantastic. All right, this is just another banger that's gonna close us out of this year, and hopefully next year we have another strong year. Now, visually, this game is not gonna wow you, it's not gonna awe you, and you may actually feel like the game looks a little dated, and it does. That PS4 gen is still being kept around with this title, so this title does make some accommodations for that gen, so the new gen does have to suffer some. I hope that in the future we begin to see them take on that next phase, go that next step like we saw with the Tales series and how they've taken their next step. I really hope to see that visually with this series, but I don't think that you're going to be super upset with the visuals. If you've played a lot of JRPGs, you've seen a big budget JRPG versus a small budget. So this kind of falls right in the middle. It's not big budget, it's not small budget, and I think the visuals will rub off on you at some point. Going straight into sound, guys, the sound is great. This game is played at land and sea, and I feel like the sound on both sides of that ball are very on point. Now, by way of the voice actors, I would tell you to play it with the Japanese audio settings. I just feel like they do a bit better job. Also, there's a bit of cover up that occurs. There's some very, very poor dialogue moments, and with the English ones, I feel like it's just hard on the ears, but I feel like with the Japanese voice actors, they kind of cover up some of those like just very off like moments. It's just bad dialogue, if you will. That's not to say that the story is bad, but just some of the dialogue between characters at times is just a little rough. But overall in the sound department, they did a good job. I'm not unhappy with it, and there are points that I feel like they could have done better, but that's just by way of dialogue, so that's not necessarily a sound thing as much as it is a writing. Speaking of writing in the story, this is another solid entry in the East story. It's a great, just solid, and it's tough when you kind of pigeonhole yourself into this type of series, because they have to play within these lines. They've already made some lines with the different empires, with the world itself, the chronology, like when does this happen. I believe this takes place right after the events of East 1 and East 2. So East 1, East 2, and then it's East 10. So you do have to play within these lines, and I think they do a good job at playing within the lines that they've set for themselves. So by way of the story, I feel like there's a question that's posed throughout the game, which is, are pirates bad people? And effectively, you have a lot of people see these pirates and they're like, gosh, pirates are coming to, rape and pillage. You kind of have this character in Karja who really isn't about that, but she is about the pirate way. She believes in the pirate way. So it goes on to just showcase Karja, and through Karja, the question is asked basically, do you still think pirates are bad people? I think ultimately what they try to get across to you via Karja is like, it is what it is. Like, it's not that pirates are bad people. It's not that they're good people. It's this is their way of life. This is the way that they live. And if you deem it bad, then cool, they're bad. And if you deem it good, then cool, they're good. Or if you deem it much like I think like they kind of want you to deem it via Adol is, well, it is what it is. Like, I don't, it's cool either way. Like, y'all do you. But overall, story is good. I definitely was happy with it. Now to the gameplay. This is where everything comes together in all the East games. I feel like the East games do have some good journal entries in there, some good adventures of Adol in there, but the gameplay is what really makes it. And here it's no different. The game brings in a new system called the duo system. Adol and Karja can team up to do team moves as well as act separately, so there's kind of like this we're together but separate at the same time. taking on our enemies on the field. And it's a very nice system. I do like some of the duo moves. I do wish they hit a little harder because you do have to spend some of your skill points in that battle, for that. Now, skill points do regenerate, but depending on your build and your setup, maybe your skill points don't come back as fast. So burning your skill points on that duo move might hurt. And those skill points pull from both people. So it's like, all right, I can't just, use these duo moves. I just wish they hit a little bit harder to make it worth the bang for the buck. Now, there is the revenge meter, which can make it bang for the buck, especially later on when you start really building out. And what that revenge meter allows is every time you block an attack, you build up the revenge meter, which gives you a multiplier on how hard your move will hit. Things like perfect parries will fill that bar up much quicker than it will be a regular block. So, a perfect block or a perfect parry is very, very key to really, really getting the most out of your combat. And it's a bit to learn because it's like slow to me. It's slow. It's not fast at all. It's a very slower thing. So I think for a lot of people who play like a lot of action games, it takes a second to try to like get used to that perfect parry window because it's so slow. But and maybe that's also with the PS4 being there. I don't know, but it just feels very slow to me. But when you do start to get it down, when you do start to see it and start to get those perfect parries off, you then can really, really go into that duo tree and really, really get some big damage out. The skill tree is actually a little bit different here as well. So as you level up, your personal stats do go up. You get these seals that you can slot into your skill tree. Now these seals do different things. So you have many different ones, but they either fall into a red category, which is more attack based, a blue category, which is more defense based, or yellow, which is more SP based. So getting that SP back. So you can slot these in. It'll be up to you to figure out what's the biggest bang for your buck. But if you look at this, they have different depths, as it's called. So you have depth, right? And the further you go down, the more nodes you get on that tree. And if you look at the top left here, you'll see, okay, so the more of these red nodes I add in, I get added benefits for having so many reds in here, or so many blues in here, or so many yellows. So saying, okay, I kind of want to do this node straight red. So you can look at it and say, hey, I want to get 5 reds in this node so I can get those passive abilities that will allow me to deal out more damage, more skill damage, or take less damage, or inflict some type of status ailment. Whatever it is that you're looking to get out of that, I definitely will say, hey, like, you're probably want to spend some time and like really look into this and see what's your play style. What is it that you really want to do with this? But overall, it's an interesting kind of skill tree situation that we have here. I'm not gonna say it's foreign to me. Now overall in this skill tree department, I do wish it was displayed a little bit cleaner so that you truly understood, hey, if I put 4 reds in the node before and then 5 reds in the following one, would that give me like a total of 9? And really showcase that to the player differently. I think they try to do it cool with kind of like a star system. So every one you put in starts to shape out a star, and then more that you put in start to kind of overlap inside of that star and make like a more fleshed out star. It's cool visually, but ultimately I think something a little bit more cleaner, to say like, okay, just, hey, 1 red would give you this, and then just like a number system, I feel like it would be a little bit more clean and really help you understand. Because if I put 4 here and then I went back to the next node and I put 5 there and I had to basically reset it, my star, that's the part of it, it's a little bit tricky to understand. But overall, interesting skill tree system. I'm not the biggest fan. Now, outside of the on land combat is the at sea combat. This is kind of the other big point. So you have your at land battle and your at sea battle. You have a ship, and your ship is basically your way to get around, to traverse the world, and also do battle at sea. So, you have so many upgrades you can do to your ship. I'm not the biggest in naval combat. Like, I don't really care for it all too much, but I do like leveling stuff up. So leveling up your ship to get your ship to be the best ship out there on the seas is basically what you're going for if you want to go for that. You actually don't have to go for that if you really don't want to. The game does force you into several combat situations at sea, but overall, I don't think it's so much that you really have to go like crazy with it. You could actually just play the game on the land portion and just kind of make do with those sea battles. By going out, upgrading your ship, and taking on some like the more challenging battles, it does give you some good loot for doing such a thing. So, I mean, spend time there. You know, the game definitely helps you out in other ways by spending more time on some of these side things, and a lot of the side stuff do pertain to your ship specifically, and going out, you know, fighting other pirates, finding treasure out there, and then having to fight pirates over that treasure. There's a lot with this ship that's going on, and it definitely easily probably throws in about 15 hours worth of gameplay just off of the ship alone. So if you really like naval battle, I definitely think that it's cool naval battle. I don't think that this isn't bad naval. I played some bad naval battle games. This is not that. So, you know, so many different upgrades to your ship, to its hull, to your cannons, so many different types of weaponry you can get on your ship. It's absolutely insane. It's definitely one of the bright points of this game. And this is coming from a person who does not care for naval combat at all. And the sea is very vast and it's expansive. And one great thing is that there are a lot of points of interest that you can find that allow you to fast travel from, you know, here to there very quickly on the PS5. So it allows you to say like, okay, I'll take this little detour and go off the beaten path over here, and you know, I can go right back to this fast travel point that I have, and there are tons of them to be seen. So that fast travel system definitely makes the traversal less cumbersome on that point. But all in all, you all, this is another fantastic entry to the E series. I do still like 8 the best, for my personal opinion. 8 is still kind of like that best experience to me, but this is a very good experience right here. This is another. I'm glad they brought the mana string in, which kind of was like a tie back into 9, I would say. So with that grapple thing, but ultimately, I really like the movement. I like the traversal. I like the gameplay. I like what they did with the combat system. I just wish the skill tree was fleshed out a little bit differently. Pretty much my main gripe with the game. And I mean, the story is cool. It's like pirates, it's Norse, it's very Norse. It's a lot of Norse terminology. If you're a history buff, I think you'll really get down with like the way that they utilize the terminology, because it is used properly. That is one great thing. Although I mentioned there's poor dialogue at times, the terminology that's used is actually spot on. So kudos to them for like really doing their research and really putting that into the game. But all in all, guys, another great East game for us. Another great title for this 2024 year that we've been having a ball. That being said, thank you all for joining in and tuning in. As usual, hit that notification button, that subscription button to keep in touch with us. Peace, be easy, be blessed.